This is Bullet Bob Armstrong. I'm Southern born, Southern bred, and I never miss Beyond Ringside.
It's been a crazy time of the old town tonight in more ways than one. Welcome back into Back to Basics in a multiple location station on this Tuesday night thing. Thank you to everybody who's been tuning in through BeyondRingside.com as well as through the Beyond Ringside radio app for Amazon, Android, and BlackBerry. Thank you for hanging out with us on TuneIn Radio mobile app as well as Ustream and all the various other methodologies that are out there. And for everybody listening on replay, it's greatly appreciated. Whether you're listening straight through or downloading, we do appreciate it all the way across the board. Fast Eddie Layne in Studio 1. Shane Noles, welcome back.
Oh, good to be back. The commercial break was entirely too long for what we've got on the docket.
You know, and I almost went ahead and did this the old-fashioned way and brought you back in as, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce the interim quarterback coach for Drew Brees. No, that would have been any heat whatsoever, considering we're both going to be in Georgia Saturday night. Could you believe that game? The Mercedes-Benz Superdome just got lit up. I mean, 13 touchdown passes between two quarterbacks in that game. Drew Brees putting himself into an entirely different stratosphere, joining some of the elite in the world of pro football. I mean, and Eli was right there behind him. Lo and behold, Drew had 7 and Eli had 6.
Yeah, it's so rare because normally when you see a performance like that off the charts, the other team is just out of it by halftime or just playing through the motions or realize they're done. That's what, if you mentioned, Eli matched him almost everything touchdown for touchdown. If you'd have told me Eli Manning, 350 yards passing, no interceptions, 6 touchdown passes to move into the top 10 of all time, you would think they'd win going away.
And that was just one game where I sat back and said, nice, I'm enjoying this. And then, of course, you had the night game where, you and I had a text exchange.
Yes.
And this was one of those where I went with my head and not with my heart, and I should have went with my heart. It's a simple, normally I bet with my heart and I screw the pooch every time, or at least 9 times out of 10. And when I go with clear-cut rational thought, I normally do well. And this was on paper, when you have the Green Bay Packers, even on the road in Mile High, and you have the Denver Broncos. Peyton, you're not sure who you're going to get at any point in time. But by the same token, Peyton Manning came out firing on all cylinders. The Denver defense looked incredible, better than they've looked in a little while. They look like it's almost like you went ahead and brought in Richard Sherman and Cam Chancellor and put them in Denver outfits. Mm-hmm. But DeMarcus Ware, and Von Miller just absolutely on it in the game between Denver and Green Bay. Your thoughts?
Hard to believe that Denver defense held Aaron Rodgers to 76 yards passing, 50 yards net passing, his worst stats in 8.5 years. Folks, that's not holding one of these mediocre backup quarterback signed off the practice squad. That's Aaron freaking Rodgers. They held to 50 yards passing. That's phenomenal. And I think Denver had heard so much during their bye week that they're the worst 6-0 NFL team of all time. And I'm sure they heard that outside noise.
Oh, yeah.
Like you alluded to, you and I in the text message, like, man, when this came out, Green Bay was a 2.5-point favorite. And I'm like, it's at Denver. I just want to take Denver. But I'm like, how can you bet against Green Bay? Because lay on the body of work, you couldn't, because Denver had beaten Detroit, to Baltimore, Kansas City, a lot of teams with losing records, and people was like, I don't buy them as legit. Well, now they're on the map because the way you handled the Green Bay Packers, that is a statement victory.
Right. And I don't know if if Aaron Rodgers having his full complement of receivers would have actually made that big of a difference, because, like I said, Denver's defense just looked like they were ready to play anybody. And for them to do what they did to the Green Bay O-line, as well as line up with the receivers in the backs just the way they did, I'm just sitting back going, where the hell did they come from?
Yeah, and that's the thing. The defense had been good during a portion of the season, but, like we said, they really hadn't played the caliber of opponent. But when you mentioned Sherman and Chancellor, Seattle's had some good games limiting Aaron Rodgers over the last few years. They've never done that to him.
Oh, and by the way, for the record, I don't know if you caught this or not, but at game time, the over that I have for the New Orleans-New York game was 51.5, and New Orleans dispatched that on their own.
Wow.
And New York wasn't that far away. 101 points scored.
I think the Giants are only the second team in NFL history to score 49 points and lose.
Not to mention the fact that it was second most of NFL history, and I believe the most points scored inside the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Go from there. It's just like I said. I'm going to be riding high on that cloud for a while because I had the Saints in that game. I just took them straight up, and I took the over because I knew it was going to be a good day for both teams. I just didn't expect it to be a great day for both, and that was just the biggest defensive struggle I've ever seen in my life.
And mentioning in the National Football League, a lot of people on the same token did not buy the Cincinnati Bengals as legit. But to go on the road with Ben Roethlisberger back and grind out 10 fourth-quarter points to win that game and force 3 interceptions from Big Ben, the Bengals at 7-0, no one's still going to say they can beat New England, but it certainly looks like they could get the number 2 seed in a bye and avoid that first round that has been their Achilles heel the last 4 years.
Yeah, but unfortunately, with every good thing does come their downsides because you had so many key injuries all across the National Football League. Because of the fact that Pittsburgh had a key injury come into play. You've had it happen all over again. You had it in Seattle, Dallas. That game, it's just wow.
You could see it kind of happening Thursday night when the Dolphins lost Pro Bowl defensive end Cameron Wake, who had 7 sacks in the last 3 games, including one of Brady, and then goes down with an Achilles, and then that's your team leader. And as you spoke of, you see Steve Smith in his final season, and Le'Veon Bell. It's just wow. The MASH unit was out.
And I've got to sit back and coming on to a similar thing, but yet somewhat disconnected, would have to be for the second week or actually second week in so many. Des Bryant going completely off and going off on the media yet again. And I'm going to be honest, I don't blame him in the least. I
agree.
I really don't. There was speculation about whether or not Des was hovering over the injured player and making comments. And knowing Des Bryant, following Des Bryant, he doesn't seem like the individual that would do that. But I don't, after a touchdown, he's going to taunt. After a key play, he's going to taunt. During an injury, he's not going to pull that crap.
No.
And then for him to pop off, and it's like, I believe the exact quotes were, "Stay the blank away." He yelled to the reporters. He said, "Why don't y'all all get the blank out of here? This is our blank locker room. You blank dirty blanks." And lo and behold, it's a case of, I'm sorry, the media, and of which I am a member in certain regards, there has to be an understanding. Because, okay, let's put it this way. Let's go in this direction for a hot second. We had a gentleman on a little bit earlier this evening who is known for not being afraid to hit the hot button questions. He is not shy about making controversial remarks. He's not afraid to be outspoken. But yet, by the same token, there were so many different questions that I could have asked Jim Cornette. There were so many questions that you could have asked Jim Cornette away from the business side of everything that we know would have gotten the soundbite of the century, right?
Right, absolutely. Bombshell waiting to happen.
Yeah. I mean, to use the simple phrase that pays to come back into play, Jim Cornette plus an open microphone plus Jim Cornette's personality equals all combustible elements are now in place. And I opted to not go in that direction, mainly because
I was going to say you're basically putting Mentos in a 2-liter of Diet Coke.
Amen. I haven't heard that one used for a while. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wish somebody would just go ahead and put the Mentos in the Penske Racing Team gas tanks.
Oh, segue.
To say the least. I am of the ilk. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say this because I have not made this reference on any of the products that I've been on, the radio shows that I've been on recently. After what happened in Kansas, I'm done. I was done with NASCAR. Plain and simple. after the bitch move by Joey Logano, hashtag bitch move. Look at my Twitter feed. You'll find that there, kids. That Joey Logano pulled on Matt Kenseth in the final laps of that race. I was done because I knew NASCAR wouldn't do a damn thing about it. I'm also sick and tired of the princess. Well, I was racing aggressively and I was trying to be competitive and I was trying to go for the win and there was nothing I could do. That's a horse load of crap. Plain and simple. That's a horse load of crap. And both of Penske's little girls need to remember what happened last year when various drivers were ready to get up in their face. It's going to happen again. I don't care who says what. It's going to happen again. But after Keselowski, now I saw the replay on this one. It's like, yeah, that was intentional. But NASCAR's not going to say anything. But yet, lo and behold, the word suspension has been bandied about in the direction of Matt Kenseth for what happened with 47 laps to go in that race. I saw the replay. I had friends get in touch with me. It's like, dude, you got to see what happened between Kenseth and Logano. I said, oh, great. What'd the little bitch do this time? Thinking Joey Logano did something. Again. But no. It was Matt Kenseth having mechanical problems. I believe that. I said that on my Twitter feed. To know that both Keselowski and Logano are now in the bottom half in the elimination bracket. I would like to buy Matt Kenseth a steak dinner somewhere. Hell, if he comes to the house, I'll grill. I'll buy the steaks and grill. Because for everybody to try to decry him in this circumstance is wrong. And the crowd ovation which took place when Matt got out of his car walking toward the ambulance to go to the care center should tell NASCAR volumes.
I was about to say, listen to your fans. They're not upset with this. No one's calling for Matt Kenseth's head. They appreciated it because they knew. And one other thing, not just the incident at Kansas, how about at Talladega, coming down the pit road, Logano brake checks right in front of Kenseth. I was like, that to me is a little bit of insult to injury. And like Matt said in his post-race interview, if you don't do something and you don't stand up for yourself, you're going to begin to lose respect in the garage, and that was not going to happen.
If I'm Roger Penske, I seriously start looking for 2 new drivers that will command respect. Even if you have to drop down to the old ARCA series and find them, or go short track and find them, or go to the Xfinity series and find them, or go to the truck series and find them. Because the ticket buying populace. Look, I'm 49 years old. I understand the concept of rivalries in NASCAR and in motor racing. I was there. I understand that. I used to spend Saturday nights at BIR watching short track Saturday night. I know what it's like to see rivalries develop. But what is going on right now with Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano, that is not developing a rivalry in the least. Look, Kyle Busch was doing a better job of developing a rivalry with Dale Earnhardt Jr. a few years back. And I understand aggressive racing. I understand hard racing. I understand being determined behind the wheel. I also understand the crap that the Penske boys have been, the Penske ladies have been pulling lately. I'm sorry, that's not class racing. That's just ass, plain and simple. Mm-hmm. Shane, come on in. Take a shot, dude.
Oh, I agree. I agree with you. And, you look at Matt Kenseth, who's been on the circuit 15 years. My gosh, everyone refers to him as Mr. Vanilla. There was even a NASCAR commercial about 7 years ago where he was being interviewed by the media, and it turned out to be a Matt Kenseth robot, and nobody knew the difference. And that's the thing. Why go after Matt Kenseth? Because he doesn't have the history of the Busch boys or a Jimmy Spencer or someone where you could say, yeah, he had it coming. Like, who the hell would go after Matt Kenseth?
Well, they made that mistake and opened up Pandora's box last year. When you... Go ahead.
I was going to say, on the NASCAR thing, too, I think, it really showed you're really wanting to consider suspending Matt Kenseth now and not for Kevin Harvick's actions last week at Talladega, plain and simple.
Yeah, I've used Tony Stark's line from Avengers Age of Ultron as it pertains to last week, because that cost Dale Jr. the possibility of moving forward. And, I like Kevin Harvick just as not nearly as much as I do like Dale Jr., but I do like and respect Kevin Harvick. But I'm going to sit back and say I'm quoting Tony Stark and in direct. If you've seen Age of Ultron, you know what I'm about to say. Dick move, Banner. Don't bring up.
Even with his in-car, radio transmission with his crew chief saying you got a motor going down. It's like the verbiage there led one to believe, hey, you've got to clip Trevor Bayne, or else you're going to get past. You're not going to make it. And the bigger picture to me, and I've seen some people talking about this, and I want to get your thoughts. This is what NASCAR's asked for. When you make the chase eliminator format, you're going to have these type of deals where guys are like, I can either sit here in 17th and ride along and miss it, or you're going to put me in a position where, hey, this is backyard brawling. I got to do anything I can to win. And when I do it, don't come after me saying that was wrong.
Remember what they did to Clint Boyer a couple of years ago when he intentionally spun. I expected similar to that when it came to Kevin Harvick's move. And Matt's already been eliminated from the chase thanks to Joey Logano's crap. So therefore, hey, what the hell? Take your best shot. Okay, and let me clarify something for everybody listening. I don't want him hurt. I do not want any physical injury whatsoever to occur to Brad Keselowski or Joey Logano. Joy. The only thing I want is them out of the damn race. I don't care if it's an axle. I don't care if it's a tire. I don't care if it's a spoiler. I don't care if it's an engine blown. I don't care if they run out of gas. I want them off the track. I don't feel they're good for the business. I don't feel they're good for the sport. The fans really just don't give a damn about them. And like I said, if I'm Roger Penske, I seriously start looking for 2 drivers, because I'm sick and tired of all the crap that I'm getting because of the Duchess and the Princess. Plain and simple.
I was going to say, I think, Keselowski's a former Sprint Cup champion. Logano hasn't achieved that feat, even though some within his certain circle may think he's already been there, sliced bread. But when I go to Talladega or Atlanta or speak with NASCAR fans, I don't find anyone wearing, 22 or 2 merchandise or really, singing the praises of Joey Logano, J-O-Y, or Keselowski. So you really don't see that pushback of, because with Kurt Busch, a lot of people don't like him, but they certainly have their fan base. I just don't see that with the Penske drivers, as you spoke of.
Nope, not the least. And I do have to sit back and say something that I should have said when I started off the NASCAR part of the conversation. Congratulations to Jeff Gordon for punching his ticket to the championship round. Look, I'm not the biggest Jeff Gordon fan out there. People who've known me for years know that fact. I still happen to agree with... I do happen to agree with Jeff Foxworthy back about the early days, because the reason why people didn't like Jeff Gordon was the fact that Jeff Gordon enunciates. Okay. I almost got that too. I was close. I can't do it with a microphone in front of me. If you do it, just regular crowd out there, I can break into the Jeff Foxworthy with no problem. But yeah.
And think about that now. If Gordon broke into NASCAR now with the way the product has changed, he probably wouldn't be met with that same type of negativity as he was when it was the good old boys racing with motor oil, beer, and cigarette sponsors.
There you go. And I miss that beer. I'm hey, bring back the Crown Royal car. That's all. Seriously. I almost had one of those collectible car hoods and unfortunately just was not able to get it at the time, and I missed not having that damn thing. I really wanted it to.
Bring me back some Skull Bandit, Red Man, or even a Camel Joe,
There you go. You did say Joe, right?
Correct.
Okay. I thought for a second there it sounded like, but I'm not going to venture there. Hashtag, huh? Okay. Now I know that you're not a big Jeff Gordon fan either. When he crossed that line in first and went to and proceeded to go to victory lane, any thoughts from your direction?
Yeah, and I've made that point. I am a Jamie McMurray fan. I was a Richard Petty fan before that, Kyle Petty. But Jeff Gordon's won me over these last couple of years. I don't know if it's being the old grizzled veteran. He's the last of his generation out there. It's just always seemed funny to me in NASCAR history. His first race in 1992 in Atlanta was the final race for the King, Richard Petty.
Right.
And, you know, just seeing this, he's been in contention, but certainly not the threat he was through the mid-late 90s, early 2000s, as they've seen Jimmy Johnson rise to prominence with Hendrick. But just seeing that win, what it meant to him, I know I told you off air, I haven't seen him that excited since his first win at Charlotte in 1994. I mean, Jeff Gordon looked like a 20-year-old Brian Vickers winning his first race in the Sprint Cup Series, and to see how much it meant to him and his wife and kids that he's going to be in the championship race at Homestead. And I thought it was really cool to hear him say, all our focus is on that Homestead car, because I can appreciate that. You're locked in. Points do not matter. You can finish 43rd in these next couple of races. Who cares? Your focus should be on the money car.
Now, I do have to ask, with part 2 of the 3-part eliminator bracket coming up right around the corner, what if Jeff Gordon did manage to run off a second straight win? Wow. If he started to turn back the clock, so to speak, no pun intended, with the grandfather clock given out to the winner.
Yeah, there you go. Dude, that clock was beautiful.
If Gordon were able to put together another one, because I think that one looks like an isolated win. He's always done well at Martinsville. Problems happen with Logano, but you could say that of any number of race winners. But yeah, if Gordon were to come out and win another, and you and I have spoken about this, either a Jeff Gordon or a Dale Earnhardt Jr. being in contention at Homestead could penetrate some of that football momentum and the buzz in the media. And, you know, like I said, the last 24 hours, the response to Jeff Gordon winning and being in that final race has been phenomenal. He still moves tickets in the needle.
I really, like I said, knowing what we have on the horizon, I really have to sit back and say this weekend is going to end up being totally crazy, because I know now
it's in Texas, correct?
Yeah, they're back in Texas this weekend. And matter of fact, a lot of this, let me see, I'm trying to figure out, because I know that the Camping World Series race is going to take place this weekend. Xfinity's going to race this weekend, but I'm trying to figure out where everybody's going to be. Yeah, actually, all 3 are going to be at the Texas Motor Speedway this week. Pray for no rain.
Please.
Please, no rain. Yeah, and lo and behold, because normally the Camping World Series is going to be held on Fox Sports 1. The Truck Series is over on Fox Sports 1, and NBCSN and their Live Extra app will be carrying everything from the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. So, like I say, Texas now, I've got to sit back and say this. Don't laugh too hard, because if my notes are correct, Carl Edwards has normally done pretty well in Texas. Jimmy Johnson has done well in Texas, so Johnson can play spoiler. So as it goes right now, I would not be surprised to see Jeff Gordon pull off 2 straight. I would not be surprised to see Carl Edwards get a win. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kyle get a win. He's won there before. So it's
Matt Kenseth.
Yeah. Well, Matt Kenseth could play spoiler in this regard, just like Jimmy Johnson could. Because if a non-chaser gets a win, that just adds more pressure to the other 7. So I think right now, Keselowski is either 5th or 6th. I think 6th, and Logano's down at 8th. Which
is this the race for the final cutoff, or is that one?
There's one more, because you've got Martinsville, Texas, and Phoenix for this one. So they're going to go back out to Phoenix after this one for the final cutoff for the Eliminator 8. And then you've got the final 4 that's going to go into Homestead, Miami. And, you know, I've got to bring back something that you and I've had discussion about, because I would love to see, and this is, I know I'm going to get crap for this, just like I know we always do. I still would not mind seeing Daytona for the championship.
Absolutely.
You call it the Super Bowl of auto racing. Why not go ahead and have Homestead as the halfway point, since it is, you know, it's a 2-mile track. It's a great track to run on. But I honestly have to sit back and say, if you want to call it the Super Bowl of NASCAR, they need to go ahead and move the final race of the year to Daytona and the Daytona Super Speedway, that 2.5 mile tri-oval. And I think that would add that much more prestige to being able to call Daytona the Super Bowl, because you'd have the finals where the champion is crowned at the Daytona International Superspeedway.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, there's just something anticlimactic about the champion hoisting the trophy in Miami, Florida. I mean, you got the right state, wrong track. And for marketing purposes, I mean, could you not see a big marketing campaign called Full Circle? It began at Daytona. It ended at Daytona in Victory Circle. And I think it would really add that combustible element of the champion would not be crowned until probably the final green-white checker. Because a lot of times at Homestead, now the last couple of years, I will say, you know, with Newman trying to pass Harvick last year, that actually made for an exciting race. But so many times we saw, I'll just throw names. Jimmy Johnson's running 29th. As long as he finishes 24th, he's fine. Well, there's not that big element of, whoa, a big one or something could happen at Homestead.
Right.
But at Daytona, certainly could happen. You're not safe until the checkered flag.
That's very true. Kind of like at Talladega. You're not done until you're within victory lane, victory circle.
Right. You're not just clocking laps at Homestead while they're saying, you know, unless he has a mechanical problem here in the final 10, he's got it. It's like ho-hum. It's all elementary at this point.
Yeah.
No. If you've got a green-white checkered and I'm ahead of you in third place, you're sixth, you're in the next pack, let's go at it.
Yeah, because if my notes are right, when they go to Homestead, all four championship contenders start with the same amount of points, and it is winner take all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to that. We mentioned the word Miami, and I'd be very remiss if I didn't come back and say, with all the hullabaloo that has been gone around in the sports and the all the way around the board, should the NCAA step in and give Duke the win and strip Miami of the win from this past week? Yeah, there's your powder keg.
What an unbelievable finish, first and foremost. If you've seen that video,
I have.
If you haven't yet, it's certainly gone viral. Where do you start? I mean, a couple of blocks in the back. The one that I froze on my DVR and took a picture of, I'll be glad to text to you. You clearly see the Miami player's knee on the ground, ball in his hand before he's even lateral and get back. And it's just like, if you're going to suspend, first of all, rewind. If you're going to admit there were 4 egregious errors during that play, and you suspend officials for that play, then what you're telling me as a college football fan, an innocent bystander on the outside looking in, that should not have held up. So why would you allow Miami to take the victory if it is tainted by all accounts, including by the sanctioning body?
Therein lies the rub, because I can't necessarily say anything about the block in the back, even though that wasn't very visible. And do I think that the officiating team should have been suspended? Yes, because I think there were some notable things that were obvious, that some of them were right there and they had the opportunity and they let it go. I think they dropped the ball. And sorry, I had to do it. I had to do it. But
of course, that brings up the not to interrupt. That brings up the whole deal, though. If you didn't want this to happen, make the final tackle. Certainly had their opportunities.
Exactly. But to put everything in perspective from my vantage point, I have to go ahead and lay it out there like this. The point that makes the most to me is the factor of the knee on the ground. That in and of itself is game over right there. There was no touchdown because the ball was no longer in play, because the ball was down at the point of contact where the knee was down. From that, like I said, and for them to let that go. Now, here's the thing. I like Duke, but I like their basketball program. I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan going all the way back to Mr. Schnellenberger. So that tells you how far back I have been a fan of the U. And do I want to see them penalized with that, getting that stripped from them? Only if it's genuinely in the best interest of the game. And that is one that I'm not qualified to answer. Go figure. I'm actually telling the truth on this one here. Do I feel like I'm qualified enough to sit back and say Miami should be stripped of the victory? No, I'm not. I'm not qualified to answer that question. That is up to people who, in my book, have many, many years experience. Do I think it's up to the head of the NCAA? No. Do I think it's up to the entire governing body of the NCAA? Maybe, yes. What kind of a precedent would we be setting if we went back and did this. I understand when you've got major infractions by a university and an athletic department and a coach and players, and coming back and stripping a Heisman Trophy or a national championship or taking away victories from a coach, and then subsequently a institution, a college. But in this case, if you take the win away from Miami and award the win to Duke, you're going to have it legitimately. You've got a can of worms opening up there that I don't think anybody's really ready for. Because if you do it today, what about a school petitioning to say, well, what about this happening 2 years ago? Or what about 5-6 years ago before instant replay was even brought into play? How far back do you take it? How far back do you go? That's why it's like when the NCAA put sanctions in place on a university after the coach has fled to the NFL, well, you're not hurting the coach, and the coach was the one responsible.
Gets out hold free.
Yeah. It's like you're penalizing the kids who are now coming on board for something that those who have already left have done. And that's not fair to those kids.
One thing that I would love to see, though, the NCAA or someone is going to have to explain this, because I totally agree with Dave Cutcliffe, and I quote, why the hell do we have instant replay for anyway? Someone's going to have to sit down, I would say, like at a NASCAR hauler, the way with Kenseth and Logano, and explain that to David Cutcliffe to where he can come out with a very sensible, clear mind.
What I sit back and do as far as the overall scenario goes, if I'm going to penalize if I'm going to penalize Matt Kenseth for what happened yesterday, which could easily be attributed to mechanical error, then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to give that same penalty to Brad Keselowski for what he did earlier in the race. I saw that replay, and that was intentional. You can't pay me to believe otherwise. Because
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to bring up a different thing. We talk about why is replay there. In the same token, we spoke of injuries earlier. Reggie Bush just lost his season. I don't know if you saw this, by running out of bounds at the Dome in St. Louis, and there's a place of concrete near the benches, just exposed. He ran on this, which he said is basically the equivalent of having skates on frozen ice, and he blew out his knee.
Yeah.
And I thought, it's 2015. Why is there exposed concrete that close to the playing field? Someone just lost their season for that. So I can see why the Rams are so ready to get back to Los Angeles.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah, therein lies the rub. I don't know. I haven't watched anything really today after the Dan Patrick show, which I did watch that. I missed the Jeff Gordon interview, but they were talking about that on there this morning. And actually, Monday morning, I apologize. My days are running together. But from that vantage point, when I was watching it Monday morning, it was a case of they were very, them, SportsCenter, Ricky Craven. God love Ricky Craven for the comments that he made Monday morning on SportsCenter. I am so happy that he did that. I haven't done the follow-ups to that, so as it stands right now, I don't know what all else is going on because I'm into work and it sucks. Why can't I just win the lottery and be okay? I'm buying Mega Millions tickets on the way to Carrollton this coming Saturday night. So if I win, tell you what, I'll split it with you.
Oh, sweet. We'll take Beyond Ringside to Beyond the Cabana in some undisclosed remote location.
That works. And we'll go ahead and for this for the PWA Super Show, we'll get Phillips Arena.
Now we're talking.
There you go. Works wonders for me. Either that or Center Stage. I've often thought about going back there.
I like that venue.
Yeah, I know. Memories. Yeah, and once again, I know I sent him a message over on Twitter, and I don't know if he ever really paid attention to it, but for the comments that Ricky Craven made Monday morning on ESPN SportsCenter when they were talking about this, I just want to say thank you because you told it from both sides of the coin, and that's something that people fail to look at sometimes. They look at one side of the situation and not two sides of a situation. And for Craven to do the way that he did Monday on SportsCenter, it's really cool as hell. I'm just, like I said, I'm going to go back after we get wrapped up here tonight. I'm going to go ahead and take a look and see what else has been said in different areas. But, dude, like I say, it's chaos. I'm looking forward to Texas this week. I'm looking forward to... Oh, God, I almost let this one go. Alabama, LSU this weekend.
Oh, yes, that will be around the time that bell time for the Peachstate matches, so we'll talk about that elephant in the room. It's not the game of the century as previous Bama-LSU matchups have been, but I think for within the conference, how can you not say that this probably won't prove who the SEC champion should be, and that is no disrespect to Florida. I'm just saying you would think it would come out of the West, certainly off this matchup.
My prediction, Alabama 15, LSU 14.
Low scoring.
Yep. I'm going to go there early because I don't know which LSU team is going to show up. I don't know which Alabama team is going to show up. So I'm going to sit back and, well, remember, there have not really been major blowouts between Alabama and LSU lately. There have not been that many high scoring affairs, 9-6. And so I'm just going to go ahead and sit back and say this. I have all the faith in the world right now that this is going to be. Oh, they haven't even posted this coming weekends yet. Wow. Okay. I got to go back. I got to find a new site.
Let me check. Mine may have it. Let me go ahead. I'll be delving into this.
We're doing this live, kids. Yeah, actually, the site that I like to go to is actually down right now. So I was. I just can't.
Good thing.
Oh no, it's cool. It's Vegas. What can you say?
Talk about chaos.
The only thing more dependable than betting in Las Vegas than is the Chicken Ranch, or whatever it's called this week. Go figure. You can get screwed in Vegas and screwed outside of Vegas, but you can't get the same kind of screwing in both places.
You need to trademark that one as well, kind sir.
I kind of had a feeling instead of doing the cell phone thing, you had your pen and paper going, writing this one down.
You could spin that one to say how you want to get screwed in Vegas depends on how much money you want to spend and where.
Yes, actually generalize it. Nevada. How do you want it while you're in Nevada? How do you want to be screwed? Brought to you by the Nevada Board of Tourism. God. Well, folks, real quick, as we start to head for the Radio Ranch, I want to remind everybody that the Saturday Showcase will be on hold this week because we've all got a lot of things. I'm going to be in transit toward Carrollton, and I know that Shane's got a lot on his shoulders coming up this week, and I think Kaz is going to be at another toy convention. So, hey, Robert, what's up, buddy? We're going to get everything back in play. And on Saturday Showcase, we'll be returning 1 week from this coming Saturday. I believe that is going to fall down to Saturday, November the 14th. We should be on schedule for a 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time start. Keep your eyes open on beyondringside.com as well as, and I know I've got some updates that I've still got to make on .com, so bear with me on that. I'm trying to get the podcast Beyondcast feeds caught up as well as all the data on the media page, so please bear with me on that. I am one person trying to do the job of 10. Trust me, it ain't always the easiest thing in the world. Tell you what, real quick, let's go ahead and take it to the Radio Ranch at this point. Shane, if you would, go and throw out shameless promos.
Before I do that, I do want to say I've got it. Alabama is a 6.5-point favorite this Saturday.
I'm still going 15-14. Right now, I don't care. It's a pick 'em. Even with Bama coming off the bye week.
Auburn is a 7-point dog at Texas A&M.
Yeah. My condolences to War Eagle.
Should not be a friendly trip to College Station.
It probably won't be. But
shameless plugs. Peachstate Wrestling Alliance. If you've listened to the duration of the program, you know it is a big mega event this Saturday. Is one Jim Cornette is in the house, but that's not all. The card is filled with top tier talent on the independent scene in Georgia as well as Alabama. Check out PeachstateWrestlingAlliance.com for the card. The Jim Cornette experience commences at 5 o'clock Eastern sharp until 7 o'clock, 2 hours, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with one James E. Cornette. You can email us at pwafanbase@yahoo.com. Get those tickets in advance, folks. If you're going to come to both, why not save $4? It's $10 for the experience, $10 for matches. Didn't go up a single dime. I want to make that clear because that's been some confusion. What if I just want to come to wrestling? How much? It's still the standard $10 price. And you're not going to see Jim Cornette manage anywhere else for that low. But if you want both, $16. Kids' ticket prices are $6. That makes your wrestling event ticket price the kids' price. You get in as a child for the night. $16 for the entire kit and caboodle.
Nice. Looking forward to it. Folks, for me personally, at Fast Eddie Layne, Layne on Twitter. FastEddieLayne.com is the home site. At Beyond Ringside on Twitter. And, of course, BeyondRingside.com is the home for all things Beyond Ringside. Here's your quick rundown. Live programming resumes on Wednesday, November the 4th at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central with the to-be-determined show. Join the Oracle of Ominous, the Wicked Nemesis, Angie Nemesis, Clyde Braddock, and even more this coming Wednesday night. The trifecta will be back on the 8th. We've got some things we got to work on for the 15th. However, concentrating on everything for the 8th right now as Beyond Ringside Live returns at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, Wrestle Rage Radio at 9 p.m. Eastern, and the Midnight Black Mass with Reverend Dan Wilson and Andrew Alexander at 11 p.m. Eastern. Now, here is something I brought up on BR Live. I want to let everybody know that immediately following this show, we will have another premiere from the Midnight Black Mass with Reverend Dan Wilson. We debuted a brand new episode this past Sunday. Dan had 2 ready to go. So I put one in the regular time slot, and the other new episode, which is actually E23, episode 23, will debut in just a couple of minutes. So hang tight. You get a premiere right after us. Folks, going to head for the Radio Ranch. Thank you to everybody for joining us this evening. Thank you for everybody for listening on the live side, and especially catching us on the replay side as well. Thank you again to Jim Cornette for coming on board. Always a treat, always a pleasure. Shane, always definitely great to have you on board, whether it be Saturday morning or Tuesday night, for my tag team partner, Shane Noles.
Thank you so much to Jim Cornette for taking time out of his schedule. Eddie Layne, always a pleasure being on.
And a very special thank you to my guest from the first hour, the Reflection of Perfection, Tyson Dean. I'll see you this Saturday, brother.
Until next we meet, I am the Magic City Motor Mouth, Fast Eddie Layne, saying adios, das vidania, hasta luego, auf Wiedersehen, ciao, sayonara, adieu, arrivederci, farewell, son of a bitch. Farewell, Abyssinia, Ottawa, and until we meet again, aloha means bye-bye. Join us next time as we all go Beyond Ringside. Bye for now.